Well, it is 10 after 1. I think it's time for us to get going. So I'd like to call this Metro Flood Diversion Authority for August, it's been a fast summer, August 8th in order. Do we do roll call typically or not? That'd be good. If you don't mind. Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson?
Here.
Mr. Paulson? Mr. Campbell? Mr. Whalen?
Here.
Dr. Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Pepcorn?
Here.
Mr. Grunberg?
Here.
Mrs. Sherling? Here. Mr. Peterson?
I am here.
Mr. Steen?
Here.
Mr. Thorstead?
Here.
Mr. Olson?
Here.
Great. Thank you. And then we have an agenda in front of us. Do I have a motion to approve the order?
So moved.
Motion by Chad, and second by Grant. All those in favor accepting this agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, and the agenda is agreed on. Well, we're back, right? So I'd like to really welcome Governor Burgum and Senator Hoeven to our meeting. It's always good to see you two here. It's good to have those good conversations and communication so that we're all in, we all know what each other of us is doing and what we're not doing and what needs to be done, all those good things that good communication does. And so it's always good to see you, and I welcome you to our diversion group. And I'll lead it over to Mary.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome Governor Burgum and Senator Hoeven. I appreciate you being here with us today, and also to Colonel Calkins and the U.S. Corps of Engineers. I appreciate everyone, and also the audience for taking a special interest in this project. You haven't heard a lot about it lately, perhaps, but if you look around the room, someone mentioned the dark circles around the eyes of all the engineers, and they've been working diligently behind the scenes and working on getting this project moving forward. There have been a lot of hurdles, and we are moving forward in a very positive direction, we feel. And we want to just especially thank Senator Hoeven for your work with Libya and securing the ability to release some of the deed restrictions on previously purchased county lots that were used with FEMA funding. So with that, thank you again for being here.
Okay. Mayor Mahoney.
Well, welcome back to Fargo. Glad to have you here. We have a lot of people here today because they know they're going to always hear good news from the governor and the senator. If a task is impossible, we seem to call on you two to help us out. Senator Hoeven, when we had this issue with FEMA, we all got concerned about can we get over this hurdle. And it's always a pleasure to work with your staff and your team to help us get over another hurdle to help the diversion move forward. And Governor Burgum has been a task force, and where that has gone and where that's happening right now, to Mary's thoughts, is the DNR is working vigorously with our team to get to a solution. And it's great to see Bob not on his pickup at the lake, but actually here working all the time. So we really do enjoy that. But thank you for coming. It's going to be an update for the DA board as well, so we just want to kind of see what's going on. And we especially like the interest you have in this project and how much help and support you've been for us over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. And we welcome remarks. From our guests, Senator Hoeven.
My turn?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first off, thanks so much. These meetings are very helpful, I think, not only in terms of coordination, keeping things moving, but I know for myself and I think for the governor that really helps us to stay tuned into what you're doing so that we can do our part and understand how that fits with the rest of the project. So, Governor, great to be here with you. Thanks for your incredible leadership and the work that you did with Governor Dayton to coordinate with this group and other groups, the upstream group and groups from both sides of the river, to really, help get agreement on a route. And that's something then that we've been working on. I think this is a good news day. The 4 different areas that I'm going to cover all, I think, will help advance the project. But it goes right, starts with, this alternative route that you developed and some easements and so forth. So I'll touch on that in a minute. But I do want to not only acknowledge all the people that you called in the roll call, thank you for your work and your working together. Again, it is about comprehensive protection for the region, and I believe it's so important that you have taken that approach where you're inclusive, you're including everybody. Thanks to our friends from the Corps for being here. I know how committed they are to the project. I haven't seen the new mayor, Mayor Dardis, in the flesh since he won, so congratulations, Bernie. I've known him for so long. I know you do a great job over there. And again, how important working with, again, everybody, West Fargo included, is so important to the project. And I know the mayor, or the governor's going to do this, but since I get the chance, I am going to greet the legislators first. They're great, and you can't do anything without them, and we can do so much with them. And I think I really appreciated them when I was governor. Now that I'm in Congress, I appreciate them even more at how well they do and how much they get done. So Senator Judy Lee, Senator Gary Lee, Representative Kim Koppelman, Representative Mary Johnson, and of course, Grinberg was a legislator for a long time too.
You're talking about my son?
No, is he a legislator now? I wouldn't be surprised. It's a pretty heads up.
I'm the SU president.
But thanks, guys. Okay, so there are 4 different areas. I've got a handout here, and do you want me to jump into that, or do you want to make some comments first, Gov? Before
I was just
jump
going to
in?
say we've got Representative Carla Rose Hansen here as well.
Oh, right. Did I miss anyone else? Okay. Let's see. Way to go. Good save. Anything else before I go into these?
No, other than her husband's a good softball pitcher.
Fast pitch?
Oh,
All right. So there are 4 areas here, but the first one really goes to, again, Governor Burgum, Governor Dayton, and all of you coming together, of course, came up with changes in the route, which we hope is something that's going to enable everybody to get on board and work together and get this thing done, get the DNR approvals and move forward. But one of the challenges or issues that created is we have to cross federal easements. Okay, so what we've done is now we've got a word bill. It's passed the House. It's in the Senate. We will vote on it by Labor Day. But we've now added an amendment that will enable us to cross those easements. So we won't have to buy the easements back or anything like that. But the language says we can build on those easement areas for flood protection. So rather than having to go around those easements, and there were a number of them in the Route D that you came up with passage of the word of bill, then we will be able to go through those easement areas without having to buy them back or do anything else. And so that's important. Again, I think we'll have that bill. It's in the bill now, in our amendment, in our version, and I think we'll be able to move that by Labor Day. So that's the first item you see on this little handout I've got. The second one is WIFIA, and actually Mayor Mahoney is I think, and the Corps, but you and some of your guys were the first ones to talk to me about WIFIA, and the EPA has what it is, it's a low-interest financing program. Why is that important? Obviously, because if you can finance a significant portion of this project, build it quickly, say 6 years, right?
6.5.
You save a lot of money because you build it faster rather than building it over a long period of time. And with that low-interest financing, this will be a way to help control the local and state cost share of the project. So EPA has a WIFIA program. The Corps is, right guys, supposed to have a WIFIA program. So we're helping you. We're going to help you with that, Judy. I know the Colonel's all over it, but you've been there longer than he has, so I know how anxious you are. Part of it is already passed. So in the word of bill, we also have added language that directs the court to come back and inform Congress that in fact, yes, we have this program, it's in place, and we're ready to finance projects. And I can think of a good one right off the bat. We just passed, matter of fact, last week in the Energy and Water, a couple weeks ago, in the Energy and Water Appropriations Committee, not only the requirement that you have that plan completed, but we put $1 million in there to start implementing. And again, I can think of a good project for you to start implementing it on. Okay? So that's really important because it will help reduce the local and state costs of the project. So part of that's done. The rest I think I'll have done by Labor Day. And again, I think it shows the resourcefulness of this group. Because the reason that this with you is moving forward now, obviously it's because we put it in legislation, but the reason we put it in legislation is because you all came and said, you know what? This is a way to save the people of Fargo-Moorhead, Cass County, Clay County money on this project. And so you got to give credit where credit's due. This is another example, just like in the P3, where you all came forward with ideas that have advanced this project, and these things, wouldn't have been advanced without your elected officials coming up with and coming forward with these ideas. Speaking of P3, we now have also included language on P3 in the Energy and Water Appropriation Bill, which is passed, and we have additional language in WRDA, which says to OMB that they have to evaluate a P3 based on the merits or the value that P3 creates. So, for example, when the Red River Valley Flood Protection Project comes on their stream, and they can build that project at tremendous savings to the federal taxpayer, which is what's happening, then that has to be reflected in the valuation OMB uses to prioritize projects, so that those projects, are the ones that get built. That not only means that projects like this, that are ready to go, that have the state and local cost shares in place, get done and get done faster. It also helps the federal government reduce their huge backlog of core projects at a savings to the taxpayer. So that's what that's all about. And this will make sure that we're not sitting with an OMB prioritization methodology, which predates P3, wherein they weren't advancing the P3 projects, giving them priority. And this language requires them to do that. And Nick Mulvaney, the OMB director, is on board with that, so that's good. And then the last thing is we increased the Corps construction account. And really, what the Corps is telling me is they're ready to do as much construction. And I think they put in, I had that total somewhere, but I think it's $35 million this year. Is that right?
$35 million this year.
And so the reason it's $35 million is because that's as much as you can do with the litigation. And so at least the Corps has been in this mode, where we've been able to keep them in this mode so far, where they'll do as much construction and fund as much construction as we can do. And that's what we want to keep the project moving along as, and I mean by what we can do based on litigation. Hopefully that's going to change here this year from as much as we can do based on how much you can construct in there, with the idea that ultimately we want to get to that 6-year construction time frame to get the project done. So we have been putting more money in their construction account, but obviously part of that is making sure that they use it on projects that are ready to go and to get done, and they've been really good about doing that so far. So Colonel, don't say anything that goes a different direction, all right? Because that's on track. That's where we're going. Please. So that's it. But again, I really do come back to, as you all are working on this, you come up with these good ideas. We'll try to help and support that effort. And I really, as I've said before, I think this will be a model project for the country in a lot of different ways.
Thank you, Senator. That's a lot of good news.
Yeah, today's
Yeah. Governor, did you want to comment a little bit?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Let me just lead with gratitude, and I'm going to start with Senator Hoeven on the top of my list. I think everybody knows that during the 10 years that Senator Hoeven was Governor Hoeven, he was fighting tirelessly around the state for flood protection for communities, and he's got that experience as a governor in the U.S. Senate. Makes it very valuable because he understands how projects work on the ground, how they need local support, and I can't underestimate the impact of the thing he just described in terms of changing the criteria of how funding gets applied, because this is super important for not only this project, but it's super important for a state like North Dakota. I mean, here we've got, as part of the gratitude, I mean, we have a 75% of the project as it was currently, the current price tag, 75% was coming from local and the state of North Dakota. Okay, we in the past, under the old system, we've been competing against other places that were trying to get the project done with 20% local and 80% federal, and they might have been going ahead of a project where you got 75% local and state. And it's the same thing that when this current administration, when they've had Lieutenant Governor and I there for feedback on infrastructure. I mean, one of the things we told them was what Senator Hoeven's working right now is fund the projects that have the most amount of local support first, and then that's the best way to stretch the federal tax dollar. And again, with the P3, allows us to build these things more efficiently and more effectively and save everybody money over time. So big change in how infrastructure funding will occur. And thank you, Senator Hoeven, for everything you're doing to keep moving that ahead. Other gratitude, I do want to thank, John mentioned Governor Dayton, the state of Minnesota. We took a situation last year that was a bit of an impasse through collaboration through the governor's office and through the great work of a task force that was appointed half by Minnesota, half by North Dakota, represented upstream, downstream, and in metro interests. And that group was supported by some incredible work from the technical advisory group and the team from the Army Corps. Thank you, Colonel Calkins and Terry and everybody on your team that was working on that. But we went through 5 full days last fall, and we covered all the old ground, and we covered some of the current ground, we covered some new ground, and we found ourselves in a spot where we were able to end that project with the goals that we set out at the beginning, which is we wanted to achieve a project that was permittable by all entities. We wanted to maintain the federal funding authorization. We wanted to achieve 100-year certified flood protection, which is important to saving taxpayers in the flood protected areas, possibly as much as $50 million or more a year in flood insurance. So huge economic benefits there for local property owners. And we wanted the protection to be comprehensive for the Great Moorhead area, Fargo, West Fargo, Horace, and achieve that for the whole region. And the group came through with some recommendations, and now those are working through the permitting process. But I remain very optimistic that we're going to achieve the goals that we set out. And I know that from talking to Governor Dayton in person at the National Governors Association meeting a couple weeks ago, he remains committed to getting this done on a timeline while he's still in office. And with term limits in Minnesota, we know that means between now and the end of this year. So I remain very optimistic for that. I want to also thank all the legislators that are here, and I see that we got one more that stepped in, Representative Mitzvah from Wapton is here. Thank you for being here, along with all the other great legislators we have here. But we've received so much support from the legislature for this project, which is critical to this moving forward. But I think they understand what a economic engine this area that would be within the flood protection is. I mean, we've got more jobs open in Cass County than any other county in the state. We have over 20% of the K-12 students in the state of North Dakota are in the flood protected area. We've got all the infrastructure associated with from the state assets, universities, but everything else that's going on. So this is a critical economic engine. A similar amount of sales tax, close to 20% of the sales tax the state comes out of this area. So this is, one of the most important pieces of infrastructure that our state needs right now. So, without the support of the legislators, we wouldn't be in the great strong spot we are for Senator Hoeven to be advocating, for a strongly locally funded project. So again, thanks to all the legislators. I want to thank the FM Diversion Authority. This is a group that's hung together through ups and downs and lots of challenges, but has continued to go forward. And I know the cities of Moorhead and Fargo and West Fargo, Mayor Dardis, good to have you here. We have continued to provide a lot of resources to keep moving this forward on behalf of their citizens, and I appreciate all of the work that the elected leaders and the staffs of the 3 cities and the 2 counties, Cass and Clay County, also putting a lot of effort into this thing. But this is when a project this big of this importance that has this kind of legacy for the region, it takes a team to get it done, and there's been some incredible teamwork. We know going forward, continue to have the support. We've got Garland Herbley here, the state engineer. Now you get a chance to serve with Garland on the State Water Commission. We look forward to crossing the permit hurdles that we have and continuing to move forward until we achieve the project going forward. So thanks for having everybody here. And again, Colonel Calkins, thanks for all the work that your team has done to keep pushing ahead on this thing and making this possible.
Thank you, Governor. Colonel, would you like to make a few remarks?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. So it's always a pleasure to be in Fargo. There's so many people we work with here, not just on this Fargo-Moorhead Metro Flood project, but with Garland on some of the international boards, with the Red River Basin Commission, and with Senator Hoeven and others on the flood projects up in Minot even. So it's really a great group of people here in North Dakota that we work with, and really do appreciate all the support and all the teamwork. It's amazing to think that it's been 5 months already since the Diversion Authority submitted the new request for the permit to the state of Minnesota on Plan B, and we've been working hard since then. So when you take a step back and look up and realize 5 months has passed, that's an indication of all the work that's been going on. So from the governor's working group, task force, to the working group we had with the mayors and the DNR in the spring, to really the nitty-gritty technical work that both the engineers from the Diversion Authority, from HMG, from the Corps have been really nugging through on a daily basis over the last several months. We've made a whole lot of progress. The Corps has finished our draft of our supplemental environmental assessment. It looks good. The next step is to put that out for public comment, which will be a 30-day public comment period. We are ready to put that out. We're hoping to release it in a coordinated manner with the DNR when they release their supplemental EIS for public review. So we're still working closely with them to figure out what the timing on that is and if that will work out. So sometime, we're pretty hopeful within the next 2-3 weeks, we're hoping that those both will hit the ground. In conjunction with that environmental analysis, we've also, of course, just been looking at the engineering of the bigger project, still working hard to keep the diversion inlet moving along, and then getting down into the design of some of the other facets of the project. And through this all, working very closely, as I started by saying, with the Diversion Authority, and with the Minnesota DNR. So it's been a very productive several months. In relation to what Senator Hoeven was talking about, we definitely appreciate all the emphasis and support for the Corps. So I think all the initiatives that you mentioned really will help the Corps on a broader level than just this project, streamline our operations. Our Chief of Engineers has challenged us all in the Corps across the country to revolutionize the way we do business, and it's just initiatives like this that'll help us do that. So we remain committed to the region, to this project specifically, and look forward to really making some progress in the next couple of months and keeping things moving.
Thank you, Colonel. Next on our agenda, we have environmental review update, and you alluded to, did you have additional parts with that?
I don't think so. Terry, anything else?
Okay. And you just don't want to come out there. Nathan, did you want to give us a little bit of feel for where?
I think the colonel kind of mentioned it, they're probably going to do their public thing pretty soon. You guys may have something, Nathan, is that you're still working with the DNR on theirs?
You didn't say that, Tim, if you're listening.
Yeah, no, I basically reiterate exactly what the Colonel just mentioned. We've been working very close with the DNR for the past handful of months. They've been very engaged, providing a lot of good feedback that we've been able to incorporate and help further develop the project as well. So we've had a very good relationship with them over the past few months.
Okay. Litigation report. John.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Senator. I'll be brief on the update. You'll recall that the court had issued an injunction in September of last year. Following that, the governors formed the task force and worked hard to come up with the solution that the governor had mentioned. During that time period, the parties to litigation had agreed to essentially stay any further action pending a resolution, a positive resolution, hopefully through the governor's task force, then through the subsequent submission of the new permit Plan B permit application. During this time period, the court also allowed some limited work to be completed in Oxbow, and then allowed continued work for in-town work. There is currently an appeal to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals that has also been stayed pending hopeful resolution of the matter. And also in the Minnesota State Court system, the Wilkin-Richland County Joint Powers Authority had also appealed the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources determination of adequacy for the first plan, essentially. That is currently stayed, and then the other matter is an appeal of the initial denial of the permit. In the event that the SCIS moves forward with the new determination of adequacy and a permit is ultimately granted on Plan B, really the state court items will become moot, and then we work towards a resolution of the federal matters.
Thank you, John. While John's up here, is there any questions for him? Okay. And after each one, I did not specifically ask for questions. I know it's a lot of information. Was there anything that anybody would like to ask about things that we've talked about at this point? Okay. And anybody would like to do any closing remarks?
Well, I think Chairperson Del Rey, Dave Pepburn was given the senator a scouting report on the bison. I think that's what held up our meeting. So, Dave, do you want to share any of that information with us?
That was my question. Where on the agenda is peppercorn and the bison? Update.
It's going to be a fun season, and we'll be going to Frisco again. So your timeshare down in Frisco will pay off once again. So.
Well, good. It's always great to get together to sort of update each other on what things are happening.
And can I say one more thing? I want to thank Tom Dawson and everybody that's here from the private sector, because there's been great understanding from the chamber, the business leaders supporting this going back since the very beginning. They were key to organizing the local support from a funding standpoint. And again, thank you to all the private sector people that are creating all these jobs in Cass County and keeping the economic engine rolling and out fighting for infrastructure that helps everybody. So thank you.
Thank you. And in particular, thank you, Senator Hoeven, for moving all this on and keeping us up on what's happening. And once we can get going, we'll be in a much better place for it.
And can we thank you, Mayor, for your leadership too? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next meeting is August 23rd, and I think we'll adjourn this. Or does somebody want to make the motion?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Tad, second by Rick. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. And we adjourn.
You guys are on a good meeting.